This podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. Our friends over at SeatGeek are giving us a promo code of TBA Wrestling. That is TBA Wrestling for $20 off your first purchase. Enjoy the show. Welcome to Gunners Rust Podcast, where we are positively Arsenal. And that we are. And it's Wednesday. As always, Gunners are us here on iTunes and Spotify. Ad-free over on the Patreon, please check that out. But it's a good week. I think it's a week in which we can actually breathe because there's a little bit of time off. I think it's the first time definitely in 3 weeks that we can actually go, all right, we've got a few days. I'm sure the players had a few days off where we just don't have to overly think about Arsenal. It's ironic that I'm bringing you the second podcast of the week on that week, but it's more of a reminder of where we're at, what's to come, what could happen, what might happen. I've got one little horrible thought in the back of my head that I'll get to today as well that is worrying me a tiny bit. It's definitely putting the willies up me, as they would say, pause. But it's just something that I think we need to think about just in case, because I know we saw the guy in the front row at the West Ham game holding up the champion shirt, which may or may not be a plant. We don't know. But, you know what I mean? I don't want us to get too ahead of ourselves because I've talked about throughout the season, I think it was 2 years ago, in that run-in, there was a period, maybe nearer the end, where I thought, do you know what, if City do drop points, we're going to win the league. And I started to imagine it and imagine not the parade, but lifting that trophy and seeing that current group of players lift that trophy. And it made it so much worse because I imagined it and it didn't happen. Obviously, last year I didn't do it. 3 years ago I didn't do it. But this year, I think I said in the podcast I'm not going to do it. And then as the year went on, I think it was around the week where we drew with Wolves, I want to say. The weekend before. I can't remember what the result was. But it was the first time where I went, oh, I'd love to, I could love it. I would love it if I could see us, that current crew, lifting that trophy. Because I feel like 4 years running, you know what I mean? Like, it was the fourth year. People like Odegaard, Saliba, Gabriel, Saka, there's more. They've been there since the first season that we challenged. And it must feel like a drain because it's 4 years of just coming up second, coming up short every single year. And, you see it out in Odegaard's reaction of the goal. Just that, oh my God, we're so close. Like, can we just get this over the line? But I thought of it, and then the Wolves game happened. And this last maybe 2-3 months has been such a roller coaster, like ups and downs, where you go through periods of time, and it doesn't even make sense. Where you go, oh my God, we're going to win the league. And the only time I felt that was just before that Wolves game. And then directly after the Wolves game, I thought, there's no chance. That'll be the points, and it still could. That will be the 2 points that we need at the end of the season. We'll look back at this game. I remember saying it to Joe. I think I said it on the podcast. I could just see it and us all talking about that Wolves game forever. And it did feel that way. And it wasn't just because it's Wolves. It wasn't anything like that. It was the fact that we were 2-0 up with 20 minutes to go. And we threw that away. You can concede, you can drop deep, and you lose. You win 2-1. You can't draw that game from that position. And it, again, like I said, we could still be talking about that all summer, depending on how this last 2 games go. But it was after that I went back into, and then we went on a run. And City dropped a couple points. We dropped a couple, but not the same amount. And we just kind of got to the end of that run, and you thought, do you know what? I think we might win the league. And I started to think about it again the second time. And then it was the Carabao Cup. And then obviously we know what happened since then. The Carabao Cup and Southampton, Bournemouth. There was all these things that happened in a row, and you just went. And I think the City game in the league then, I think we all felt it, and when you think of edits and things like that, there's so many things that could go against us or go for us. I mean, the City fan at Stamford Bridge drinking the Arsenal bottle's tears, and then obviously in the concourse wiping his eyes as a fully grown man into a bottle. The City game also produced the Haaland look down the camera mentality monster, they called it. It produced all that. Also, Declan Rice saying it's not over to Odegaard. All these things are going to be used in edits, whether it's a positive or a negative. All this stuff's going to be used. And they've given us no shortage of content. But after that, I think we all thought, yeah, advantage City. That's it. And I think the reason being was and I think I probably said it on here, was the games ahead were winnable because obviously beyond that City game, if you remember when we were counting down, we thought, I think it was like 5 games after that or 6 games, I can't remember what it was. And I remember us looking, it was like Newcastle, there was Fulham, there was Newcastle, Fulham, West Ham, then obviously the last two here now, which is Burnley and Palace. And I remember going, could we win all 5? Yes. Has Arteta this season won 5 in a row in the league? No. Did he win 5 in a row last year? No. Has it been 2 years since he's won 5 in a row in the league? Yes. But you looked at them and went, they are all winnable. Yeah, and you could break them down. You know, Newcastle doing awfully, but Newcastle always perform against us. You could look at Fulham not playing for anything, but could they come back and haunt us with their former Arsenal players? Then you look at West Ham, relegation battle, they're going to be problematic. Burnley not playing for anything, and then Palace, at that point we didn't know, but aren't playing for anything other than something that's more important than the match with us. But when we were looking at it, we were going, oh, they're all winnable, but City are level with us. And when you looked at theirs, you went, theirs aren't necessarily as winnable, but you just didn't have any faith. And this is what's crazy about the season and why it doesn't make any sense. 2-3 weeks ago, we didn't have any faith that this team could get this over the line. We just didn't. We went from, we're going to win the league, to having 2 or 3 of the worst weeks of the year with that international break in the middle, going out 2 cups, losing 2 in the Premier League. And it was like advantage City, and everyone agreed. I think for the first time, Gary Neville stopped doing that weird manipulation thing where he says that Arsenal are going to win the league all year. He said City are going to win it. Mika Richards said they're going to win it. Vieira said they're going to win it. And then Roy Keane said he doesn't care. And pretty much everyone unanimously agreed, yeah, once you give City control like that, there's no chance. And we just didn't have the faith. But it's just funny because 2 weeks earlier we had the faith. And then 2 weeks later you don't have the faith. Similar to before Wolves, we had the faith. After Wolves, didn't have the faith. Up until about October, November, we were playing really good football. And we were getting results late in games. We were also blowing teams away. And you thought, we've got the faith. Then, obviously, we were still winning through winter. But we just knew it wasn't great. And we knew it was going to come back to haunt us. And then it did. Then we lost the faith. And it's so interesting. I don't think I've ever watched a season where you can have so much faith and so little faith in the exact same 11. And there was periods in February, March, April where a loss would happen or a draw or something. But we were the exact same point. I think in January we were the same amount of points clear of City than we were in April at one point. But in that time we had lost faith, gained faith like 3 times. And we had gone and we had convinced ourselves, oh, it's not in our hands anymore. But further out from the end of the season, we thought it was more in our hands. But you'd think as it gets closer to the end, it would be more in your hands, you know, like if you have a lead. And then obviously it shrunk down to literally completely level, including goal difference the other day. And you just thought, who's gonna outshoot the other one for the ending? And then they go to the Hill Dickinson Stadium, and then all of a sudden we catch life again. And we did manage to get some wins together when we lost that faith. We got Atletico, we got to a final. And in amongst that, we put away Newcastle very poorly. Fulham very well. And then the West Ham game was a tale of, 3 games and a heart attack. But we got it done. And now we're all going, oh, we got the faith. There's no way we could lose to Burnley. But I think 3 weeks ago, we'd all agreed that there's a chance we would not beat Burnley. Because, I remember Wolves at home was one of the most disappointing games of the season where they pegged us back in the 90th minute to 1-1. And this is they're lower than Burnley. Then we had to go win it late with an own goal. And when you think of that, you go, okay, yeah, Burnley could beat us. Like we've gained our faith completely back. And yeah, it's different because as the season comes to an end, teams like Arsenal have more motivation and teams like Burnley have completely no motivation. But we did see with Leeds against Spurs that teams can get up for it, you know, and maybe they were getting up for it almost in a hate watch, baity type of way where they thought it'd be funny if we take points of Spurs. I think we all agree it'd be funny if Spurs go down more than West Ham. I think we all would rather that just to see the chaos, really. But it's just been interesting that we've gone so many ebbs and flows, and I see them lifting the trophy and then I go, oh my God, I can't believe I let myself into that again. There's no chance we could win that, but at least we concentrate on the Champions League. Then 2 weeks later, I'm like, oh my God, I'm thinking about it again. It's been so strange, and and we'll talk about it today because Ian Wright said, if we were to win the double, this is the greatest Arsenal team in history. and there's been a lot of discourse around whether that's true or not. I think it is. I'm gonna go with yes. I think if they win the double, yes. And the reason being, I think the Invincibles will always forever be its own thing. But I think we've spoken about it before. A lot of Arsenal fans have spoken about it before. Between 2002 and 2006, I think out of those 4 seasons, if you were to rank them of how good that team played that year, I'd have the Invincibles probably 4th out of the 4 seasons, as far as watching, the kind of how good it was, how fun it was, potential, all that stuff. I mean, in 06, I mean, that should have been a year that we could have won a quadruple. We won nothing. We went out of finals, we did all sorts. But that team was so good. It was a nice mix of that invincible team and the new team coming. And it's just interesting because sometimes the best teams you have in your history aren't necessarily the teams you think it is. You know, like 4 years ago when we had Ramsdale, Zinchenko and Jesus and that, we were playing some of the best football I've seen since then, since 2006 to 2010 kind of era. And they won nothing. They came second. And albeit so did the team in 2009 and 2010 with Nasri and Fabregas and all these players and Van Persie, Adebayor. They were a really good squad. They were playing very good football. But they didn't win anything. So they're not really remembered. I mean, Arsenal fans remember like 2009 Arsenal was just quality. And we all Arsenal fans know 4 years ago with Ramsdale, you know, almost like a cult thing. They were good. But they didn't win anything. And then 2 years ago, that team that lost by a point, I believe it was, that was the team of a perfect mix of steel and good football. It was fun to watch. It was, you know, gritty at times. The squad was a lovely mix. It felt like the right ingredients were there. And then last year, I think, but they didn't win anything. Then last year, I think we all agreed that I think we got the mix slightly wrong. But that was coupled in with, 4 red cards in the first 5-6 weeks. A horrible fixture list. First 10 games, everyone was like, oh my God, what are they doing to Arsenal? And by the way, side note, they did that again this year. We started at Man United. We played so many big games at Anfield. And I remember when they did this fixture list this year, everyone, even the other fans, were saying, that is mad. They've done it to Arsenal twice. And you do kind of think, yeah. And we got out of it relatively unscathed. But when we got out of it, we kind of thought, well, that's unfortunate. Because we had a loss, we had a couple draws, you know, we had a couple wins, and we were kind of like, well, it could have been worse, but it could have been a lot better. But what happens is the second half of the season, you have more winnable games. It's the reason why, you know, we've had to play Villa at home. We've had to go to Bournemouth. We've done all that. And is it better to do that at the end of the season when certain teams are on the beach and take the gamble that they're not in for anything like Bournemouth are? Or is it good to get them done at Christmas when you're in a rhythm and you're playing every 3 days, but you also got a lot of injuries and you've also got a lot of exterior factors and you're chasing games because you're worried about your league position, all these other things, group stages of the Champions League. Maybe, you know, so there's pros and cons to all of it. But for whatever reason, the fixtures worked out for us this year. But that team last year, yeah, it was kind of derailed in the first 3 weeks, almost 5 weeks. And they were just playing catch up the whole season and we never truly got any rhythm. And you know, when you think of the second half of that season, we lost. Well, last season, 6 months without Odegaard, 6 months without Havertz, Gabriel, Martinelli. We had long 4 or 5 months without Saliba. When you look back at it, and then you know you look forward to now, and you see that people are talking about the fact we haven't given away a penalty or had a red card, and everyone's saying that it's just whatever. And what people I don't think are getting, and this is going back to the VAR decisions and stuff, is we've been so badly messed over by VAR, red cards, injuries, all these things. We've had to overcome them. We're not strong enough on set pieces. We're weak. We're soft-centered. Dance around us when we're doing it on TV and make fun of us. Social media-based memes are making it to Sky Sports. It's so funny that they're doing this. Arteta talks out about a really bad VAR decision. That's a disgrace. He shouldn't be talking like that. All these kind of things. Gabriel got absolutely destroyed in that, and he said, yeah, wait till you come to our ground. That was his response, which I think is as good as you can get, because you don't want him moaning about the decision. And then obviously we've got centre backs and football players like Callum Wilson going now and talking directly about it. Can you imagine if that was an Arsenal player? That's what I'd just say. And what people don't get is, yeah, you're soft-centred, you're not good at set pieces. All right, we'll go get a set piece coach. We'll get really strong and solid on set pieces. Now they don't like it. VAR decisions, red cards, they're so petulant. They don't know. They need to keep their heads. They need to be more calm. They need to do all these things. Stop being naive, kicking the ball away, getting all these red cards. All right, we'll stop that. All right, you cheat because you don't get any red cards. VAR decisions like not drawing the line against Brentford that cost us a league title, not giving us penalties, blowing the whistle before the ball goes over the line so we can't overturn the decision, costing us titles in the last 3-4 years. You're bottlers. So what do we do this year? Here's no red cards. Here's a good VAR decision, and it's gone our favour. People are absolutely up in arms. And what people don't get is that we are kind of, everything you're telling us we're trying to fix. And when we fix it, people don't like it. So there's no winning, So it's just an interesting kind of form. And this year, getting back to the original point, which was this team being the best of all time, is they've put together the petulance or the naivety that people were calling us. They've got that right. They found how strong you could be on set pieces without giving away a foul, riding that line. They've done it. They're the best in the league at set pieces, actually joint with Tottenham, and both of them have broken the record in the Premier League for most goals in one season from set pieces. People are saying that we're winning the league because we're very good at set pieces. Why are Tottenham not at the top with us then? Because they've got the same amount of goals. So that debunks that one. There's so many receipts and there's so much debunking and so much proof, and people actively, for the first time, it feels like they're seeing it and going, oh God, yeah, we really do look like hypocrites at this point. For 4 or 5 years of us screaming into a void of like, you're so hypocritical, and no one getting it. Whereas this one is nice because even if they don't get it, if we can win something, we can go, all right, there you go. We don't care now. But this team, yeah, they've put together all those kind of only like side questy things, like, no red cards, don't give away penalty, touch wood, this could all still happen in the last 2-3 games. No red cards, no bad, we've had bad VAR decisions this year, but we've also had good VAR decisions go away. Riding that line on set pieces, scoring the second most amount of goals from open play after City. There was a stat this week that said the most two common scorelines this year are 1-0 and 3-0, or 1-0 or 3-0, or scoring by 3 goals. Man City are the most of that, Arsenal are the most of the 1-0s. Which is complete nonsense because Man City have done it 8 times. Arsenal have also done it 8 times. We've just also done 1-0 8 times. So hence why we've got golden gloves and we've got a very good goal difference. So, it's funny because, we're debunking these things as we go almost. Like we're having to correct things as we walk through, like, I don't know, you're walking through a garage and you're just correcting cars as you go kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, Man City have won by 3-goal margin more than anyone else. So have we. Same exact. They're just not mentioning it. And we're just kind of having to go, all right, here we go. But I think they've put all those together and the football hasn't been great. It's totally clear. We have not played the best football we've ever played. I don't think anyone has. I think there's teams in this league this year that chose to be quite open to try and win over fans or pundits or social media posts or whatever. And you've seen where that's got them. Look at Newcastle. Look at Palace. Look at Leeds even. And Leeds, you'll say, have done better than they should have. Yeah, but they're not exactly in Europe, They've kind of appeased the masses. And all of these teams that I just mentioned are in the bottom 15, 16. 6. 16th and down is what I meant, sorry. But they're in that, do you know what I mean? And then there's teams like Arsenal who've done the Steely thing. And then, for example, Liverpool have been very open all year. And they've been ridiculed. But on the other hand, they're telling us that these are fun games, for example. Then Slot got really measured for a period. They got a lot of points on the table. They got back into Champions League spots. And they've kind of almost drifted back into trying to appease people again. And it's just, I find it very interesting because for 20 years, Wenger tried to appease the masses with good football. And we got criticised for being a walkover. And you need some steel. Doesn't matter how you win, you should win. This year's the definition of it. Doesn't matter how you win, you just got to win. And in here, like I said, we've won by 3-goal margins. You think of Fulham at home, unbelievable football, 3-0. Sunderland at home, 3-0, unbelievable football. You think of the 2 Leeds games, home and away, where we scored 5. It's where we blew Burnley away from home. It was just an unbelievable football game. There was it 4-1 against Tottenham twice, 4-1 against Villa. Unbelievable football. We beat Bayern Munich 3-1. 4-0 against Atletico. There's games that you can look back at and go, wow, we were clearly the best team in the league. And there's been times where I've said, I went into that Carabao Cup final and it was the first 30 minutes and we had a few chances we should have scored. But we were in control of the game. And I remember thinking, we're better than City finally. We're finally better than City. And obviously the way the game ended and then the couple of weeks that followed, you start to go, I was ahead of myself. But that was based on the proof that I'd seen the 7 months prior. But you forget all that. Again, like I said, the ebbs and flows and the kind of the ups and the downs are so high and so low that we're kind of forgetting what we're seeing in the middle. But like I just said, those games I just mentioned, you can all, as Arsenal fans, remember those games and go, wow, some of the football was electric. There was that week where we beat, I think it was Bayern Munich and Tottenham in that week. It was just unbelievable football. We went to a Carabao Cup final, got to a quarter final of the FA Cup, final of the Champions League. And we're 2 points clear at the top of the league with 2 games to go. People ridicule me for saying this, but at the start of the season, if you'd said all that had happened, what I just said, I would have gone, that's the best season I've ever seen. And that energy I'm trying to keep, because if we can get one of them over the line, I think it's an unbelievable season. It's unheard of. It's something that I didn't expect to see. I really didn't think we could challenge for a 4th time. And we have. And then some of the football at the times, like I said, those games I just mentioned, there's also games like the 2-2 against Wolves, the late goal loss against Sunderland. If you remember, we had an unbelievable spell in that game where we looked so good. But, we struggled. All the games against Chelsea this year, very strange games. Very strange games. Not overly impressed with that City away from home performance. The Carabao Cup final was a big downer. There's been some moments, the late goal from Villa. It's been a season where you've questioned, I don't understand what the plan is. And there's been games where you go, we're just so good. It has been so strange in that sense. But when you put all that together, I think getting all those side quests, like I said, to kind of in place, because, in America, they talk about it. To win a Super Bowl, you need the right squad. You need the right injuries to go your way. You need the right money in the right places, the right morale, the right locker room leaders, the right decisions, key decisions going your way. Sometimes just the way the draw falls in the have a good season. That means you get to have maybe easier home games. And again, when you look at Arsenal's season, we didn't draw or lose a game in the Champions League, came top. And because of that, we got a very good draw. And people seem to forget that was the point. Last year we did very well in the league form and we should have had a home game away from home right through to the final. They changed it randomly in the semis, so PSG had the away game. Real Madrid had the away game, even though they finished much lower than us. They had the home game, second. They changed it this year, so that the point is, the higher up they are, the better kind of seeding you get. And look, that's what happens. You next year, anyone that wants to do it, win all your games, come top, and you might get an easier draw to the final. So it's on our own merit. It's not just luck, But all those things have gone our way. And when I was saying earlier about, you get too many red cards, no red cards. You give away too many penalties, no penalties. You do this, you do that. One of them is you get too many injuries. You can't compete. So we went and got a massive squad. Did the injury slow down? No. We've had more than last year. I think collectively we're at 175 games missed by players in this season of 60 games. So which, I think that works out at 3 players missing per game. Something like that. It's ridiculous. But what we did is we went and got more depth to be like, all right, well, before when Odegaard went out, you thought, well, we've got no creativity. We're going to have to rely on a 17-year-old. No, you got Eze. Eze carries the load for 3 months. Odegaard comes back, then he takes his position back. Eze sits the bench. There's been periods where Eze was on the bench over Christmas. But then he comes back in. Lewis Skelly sat there all year. And now he's getting us over the line. We're trying to, touch wood. Zubimendi has absolutely ran himself into the ground to kind of relax at the end here and maybe not have to play every game. Declan Rice has been an absolute animal. Saliba, Gabriel, all these guys. But do you remember early, Saliba and Gabriel went out with injuries. Mosquera, Hincapi's been unbelievable with Calafiori out a lot of the season. Ben White finally came back into the focus while Timber's been out. Now, obviously, Ben White going back out, it's unfortunate. But that squad depth has allowed that. Gyökeres has been a mainstay all year while Havertz has been out all season. Saka went out for a long time, but we bought Madueke to kind of carry that load. When Madueke wasn't cutting it, Max Dowman carried that load. It's been a really impressive squad building, and it looked impressive in the summer when we looked at it. That should challenge. Then we end up with as many injuries as we could ever imagine, but we still managed to cope because, like I said, 2 finals, a quarterfinal, and 2 games to go, 2 points clear. That's pretty impressive. If next year they can keep that squad together, or maybe lose a couple, bring in a couple, improve even in a couple areas, and not have the horrible luck of the injuries, maybe not have the worst fixture list to start the season, they could go again. And that's what's really exciting is, next season could be very good. It could also be mad to put this much energy and go to a World Cup, come back, and then we struggle. I don't know. Maybe by Christmas Arteta's out and everyone's like, oh my God, we need to change something. I don't know. But we can't worry about that now. We've got to worry about now. And I just believe it is the greatest team because the Invincibles weren't a fun team to watch. They drew a lot. They were quite sturdy at times. When teams took corners, they were scared to take corners because we were going to counter-attack because of our pace. We were passing penalties and, a lot of people thought they dived a lot. There was a lot of that. There wasn't a massive English crew in there. There was a lot that people didn't like about it. And also on the eye, it wasn't as good as some of the years around it. But it'll be remembered the most. And I think even if we weren't to win the league this year, even if we were 4th right now, but we won the Champions League, I think they would be put directly next to the Invincibles because it's something, Invincibles has never happened, probably never happen again, touch wood. But no one's also won the European trophy for Arsenal. I mean, we've been in one final and a centre-back scored our only goal. There's so little history there that if you win it, dare I say, if we win the Champions League and don't win the league, there is a world where Arteta has a statue simply because he's the only manager, Herbert Chapman, Arsene Wenger, George Graham. He's the only one that would have won a European trophy. And again, we might win more in the future, but there's always going to be the first time. And I think that will be put there. If it's a double, it's a rare double that, only United and City have done it in their trebles. And then United did it, I think it was 2008, I want to say, somewhere around then. It's a very rare double to do. It's probably the hardest double to do. It is the hardest double to do, probably in world football. So for them to do it would be pause to go, all right, yeah. I think that might be the greatest Arsenal team that's ever happened because the Invincibles couldn't do this. There's a chance if we win out, we're going to be on pretty much the same points as the Invincibles, I believe. I've double checked that, but wasn't it 80? Was it 86? Was the Invincibles 86 points? And then this current team will be in 85 if we win out. Invincibles. It's coming up with a lot of stuff that isn't Arsenal, obviously. Arsenal's, here we are, because they should have the points, 26 wins, 12 draws, 0 losses, which, hey, I'd say this, we should be able to figure out that math because that is 72, 78 and then 12, so is that 90 points? I was way off. I think I'm way off, but I think it was 90 points. And then when you look at this season, for example, as far as wins, let's say we do win out. We'll be 126. We will win 26, but we've lost 5. But we've drawn 7, so a lot less. Turning those draws, again, that's what's mad is if we turn some of those draws into wins, it would be very close to being exactly identical to the Invincibles. Obviously, I'm not saying because they went Invincibles as well, but it's just very close. And you think of it, and you just go. You look back in history, rose-tinted glasses sometimes, and maybe you kind of remember things more fondly. And I think this season, in 20 years, if we win the double, I think we look back and go, yeah, the years around it were unbelievable. But that year wasn't the funnest. It was really stressful, but they did win the biggest things we've ever won. If the question is, will we win the Champions League? It looks unlikely because of PSG. But any given Sunday, any sport does a weird things. Maybe we could come up with something. I don't know. But for now, I think the most important thing is the league. And I think now we'll kind of move this into some of the league talk. We'll talk a little bit about just stuff that's happened this week, what's happening tonight. Like I said earlier, it's been nice to have a couple days where we're not stressed. Because usually it's Wednesday, we'll be playing. And then it's all about, can we get the points in, and then we're playing Monday. We're not even playing Saturday, Sunday. We're playing on Monday. So it's a big old gap, because we can almost watch the weekend and watch the FA Cup final and watch other teams, because the only team that concern us is City, and they're playing tonight. Other than that, we can watch this weekend and just not worry about any of it. It doesn't matter. None of it matters to us, other than Man City tonight and us on Monday. So it's kind of an enjoyable... We still get to watch football. It's still big football with big consequences, but it doesn't involve us, and it's quite nice. And it'll be even nicer, again, if City were to drop points tonight. As I mentioned on Monday, I think Palace have a lot to gain from putting out a strong side and really getting a result tonight. If they try really hard and they play their best team and they get it just right, there's still a very large chance they lose 3-0. Look at Brentford. I know City got 3 or 4 clangers of a decision to help them, but Brentford were in that game. But City still found a way, and it's unfortunate that Doku's kind of found his form finally after 3 years of asking. But he's just putting it in top bins, and I think I talked about this before that game on the podcast, where I said the problem with City is it's really, what's the word? It's frustrating because they have the ball a lot. They're in dangerous areas. They're always dangerous because they have players like Haaland and Bernardo and all these players, but the thing they've added to that is people like Doku and Cherki and Mamouche, who, even if they get half a yard, it's going in the top corner, and other teams just don't have that quality. When you think of Brentford got in 3 or 4 times and they just couldn't quite finish it. Even us this week against West Ham, we got those yards and we weren't putting in the top corner. They have special players who just sit on the bench and then come on, and just, you can be as resolute as possible, but they will score. And the only way to, I think, beat this current City team with the way they're playing in the last 2 months, you got to remember that domestically haven't lost a game since January, which is just crazy. That you have to do what Everton did, which was you kind of got to sit in, you got to try and be good. But when you get your moments, you have to take them. And if you remember, Everton, when they went to 1-1, they had a really big chance right before 1-1, which we thought was this year's Son's moment. I think we now know the Son moment might be the Fernandes moment at West Ham. But there was the Njai moment. Then they scored. Then they missed about 3 sitters. Then they scored again. And then he missed another sitter, and you thought, oh my God, City are going to end up winning this 3-2. Then they scored again, and you thought, okay, they've won. Then they didn't. So with the City team, unless you're going for it as well, they will just beat you. I think if any team in the league currently sat behind the ball and just went, all right, well, we're going to sit in shape, we're never going to lose concentration, you're going to struggle, they'll still find a way, because they've got people who can put it in from 30 yards. And you can't defend that. It's just it's undefendable. And even if they don't, it deflects into Haaland, and Haaland then is potent in front of goal. So they're just a really hard team to expect a team to get a result. The only benefit is we're not in a world where we need Palace to win. Same with the Everton game. We didn't need them to win. We just needed them to take enough points off. Because 1 point is as bad as 0 points at this point. And also 1 point against Palace for City means that Arsenal would be able to lift the trophy at Burnley if we were to win at home at the Emirates on a Monday night, which is very odd. I can't quite, if we are going to win, pickers can't be choosers. Beggars can't be choosers, not pickers. I don't know what that was. But do you know what I mean? Like, I'll take it whatever, as long as it happens. But I think I don't think we've ever lifted a trophy at home, like won the league at home and then lifted it. We've lifted it at home, obviously, because that's the point. But we've always won the league either not playing or at someone's ground. So it would be really cool, but I'm not holding up much hope. Tonight, will I watch it? Yeah. You got to, do you know what I mean? But, when I've given advice in the past, Burnley 1-0, and I said don't watch it, and then I ended up watching the last 10 minutes and they nearly got the goal. I remember the West Ham away, and West Ham drew. And then obviously the Brentford game, my kind of overriding thought process was just don't watch it. Check the result. Don't put yourself through the stress, because the Everton game felt like one you could watch. And I remember the stress in that second half that I felt was like watching that Arsenal-West Ham game. And I think our bodies can only take watching the Arsenal games in a minute. I think, do you know what I mean? Because the benefit is it's in our hands. So we don't have to worry about them. Is it helpful if they draw tonight? Yeah, because I think it's party time at the weekend because Monday night could win the league, and even if we draw, we can still win it at the last day. It's not like there's not a massive consequence. We could even lose, I believe, if they draw this one and win the last day, and we'd still win. So it opens up a lot of kind of confidence, I think, to go and win that league. And the thing that I mentioned at the start of the episode that's been worrying me is after watching, we watched Newcastle and Fulham, and there were two very different games at home. But away from home is so hard to win in this league. Any team. If you go away to any team, it is tough. Like if this was Burnley away on Monday, I'll be 50-50. Because it's at home, I'm 80, hoping. But it's not given anywhere. When City have to go to Bournemouth, they have to go to Everton, all these kind of teams. It does instantly become harder. And what we're kind of forgetting after watching that West Ham game and the stress we went through is Palace are a better team than West Ham. We still have to go away from home to them. Yeah, there's mitigating factors like Palace have a final 3 days later. That's the biggest one, I'd say, because they're probably going to rest a lot of their players. They also might not. We don't know. They're not playing for anything, whereas West Ham were fighting for their lives. There's things like that are happening that do help. But at the core of it, we have to go away from home. And this is my bad feeling. There is a world in which we do beat Burnley, City win, then City beat Bournemouth, and it comes down to the last day. And if we draw, City will win their game and win it on goal difference. That could still happen. We could also lose last day and City win. And they win the league. Because it's not a given that we're going to win away at Palace. So, this is a ground that at any point in the year, if we were going to play them, I wouldn't feel confident it was a definite win in any way. I would be like, we cannot lose, but a win would be great. But I wouldn't feel confident. There's certain grounds like Brentford, Palace, Newcastle, Villa Park. There's certain grounds I just don't want to go to. I find it tough. And it does feel like a game that we could stumble on. But I am also caught up in the whole, they're going to play their reserves and all this. I don't know how much they are. You know what I mean? Like, could they also be like, I don't know, handbrake off playing good football because some players are playing to play in the final? Could the players that do come in do that? Could there still be some of the main players? Or am I also over worrying that the team at the top should be able to beat a team that are 15th in the league or 16th in the league? Maybe it's that. Maybe I've just allowed that to get to me. But after seeing that West Ham game, I just thought, God, we could be in for another, it's 0-0 at 70 minutes. City are winning 5-0. A draw means they win on goal difference. We have to win. And we're just plugging away and kicking it wide and going side to side. Could you imagine that? And I know this is positively Arsenal, and the idea is not to do what I'm doing right now. But that is sunk into my brain. So there's a part of me now that is almost... And there's other things here. There's another huge aspect to all this, because if they beat them tonight, we're kind of very much in to that world where we have to win that last day. There's also a hidden game in here, because Pep, he was very salty in his press conference, talked about that he's going to have to rotate against Palace because he's got a cup final at the weekend, which is huge, because he's in a world where he knows he's behind. There's a chance he doesn't win the league. He's not in the Champions League. If he leaves this season with just a Carabao Cup, as much as he loves the Carabao Cup and he's made history with the Carabao Cup, City didn't win anything last year. If he and he started claiming, Community Shield, which we're apparently not allowed to claim. If he leaves at the end of this season, if he leaves in the last 2 years of his reign, he came third and second, and he got a Community Shield and a Carabao Cup, he will not be happy. He needs a domestic double. It's something he hasn't done yet. He's won the treble, obviously, which is included in situations like this. But the domestic double is another little caveat he could just throw in there. He's made history with the Carabao Cup. He's won 4 in a row. He's done Centurions. He's done Champions League. He's done everything. But domestic double's a nice little kind of, on a season where, and especially if you add in last season, 2 years where it's not been great, he can easily go, well, a domestic double is something that not everyone's done, which is very true. And he can see this year as a win. So he has to go big at the weekend. And that there's a benefit either side of that. There's a benefit that he might have to rotate tonight a little bit, which, again, they have a massive squad. They should be absolutely fine at home to Palace. But Palace could be going full strength. I do not know. Then they got the weekend. they're going to have to put a lot of effort in to beat this Chelsea team. Again, I say that as if Chelsea are really good. They've scored 1 goal in 9 hours of football or something. I don't know what it is. But Chelsea can turn up, and it can cause you problems. You saw against against second goal they scored in 8 hours or whatever it was, because they drew against Liverpool at Anfield. When they turn it on, they can be a really stubborn side. And, at Wembley, things change. You look at Southampton gave City problems. He's going to have to go hard to get that over the line. If they don't get it over the line, there's a chance he goes absolutely mad in the Bournemouth game and tries to, win 9-0 because he's like, we have to win something. I can't come away with a Community Shield and Carabao Cup in 2 years. But if they win it, he might go, do you know what? What a season. Let's just see what will be. And then he will have to rotate. And away at Bournemouth, who are on the longest winning run of the season, of I think 16 games now, or not winning run, unbeaten run. He has to go there and get a result, not a draw. Because again, if you go to Bournemouth and you've got a 2-2, you'll be like, you know what, we'll take that, we'll get a win next week at home. In the running, no one can afford a draw. So he has to go and win at Bournemouth. He has to win against Palace. He has to win a cup final. Then he has to win against Aston Villa. And depending on how they get on midweek, when they're playing Bournemouth the week after, they might have to win. So we're in a situation where, we just came out of this run that they're in, which is 5 games in 15 days, or whatever it is. But we ended up drawing a game in there. It was Atletico. We won everything else in our run. So it's possible for City just to win every 3 days. We just did it. And City are in a lot better form than us currently. But there is a little sneaky draw in there. And if that draw happens to come in the Bournemouth one, if we win against Burnley, we would win the league without playing. That night, next Tuesday. So, yeah, wow. Before next Wednesday's episode, City have to play 3 times. To give you an idea, they have to win 2 games in the Premier League to guarantee it to go to last day, and they have to win a cup final to guarantee a good season. Could be even better. They could win a treble, but touch wood, it's still going that way. So it's just something it's something to think about. It's kind of it's word salad a little bit, but if they beat Palace tonight, it's not doom and gloom of, oh god, okay, yeah, as long as we beat Burnley, because there's going to be a fear. This fear is building, because if they are to win the next 2 and it goes to the last day, I can guarantee you, no matter what team we're playing, whether it's Grimsby, we would start to feel it. And all of a sudden that point, because it's a lot easier when you're City and you're going, yeah, as long as we win, we'll see what happens in the other one. There's no stress to it because they're just hoping. Whereas we have to be solid. And, you think 2 years ago when we were at home to Everton, we really struggled and we were the actual chasing team. Whereas they were the team at the top, and they went against West Ham, and I think it got to like 35 minutes, they got a goal, then it went to 2, they went to 3 or something. It was game over anyway. But we are finishing on an away game, and that makes it very tough. And if you add some pressure, and that's what Pep will be saying, if we apply some pressure, they might break on the last day. And I mean, I saw the pressure in that Newcastle game. I saw the pressure at home to Bournemouth. I can't imagine what the pressure away to Palace is going to be if it does go to plan for Man City. So it's just something to keep an eye on, because I've definitely seen a lot of we've won it, and there's no gimmies in the Premier League, no matter the exterior narratives around the 2 teams we are playing. We have to just do our job. But my thought process would be watch that Bournemouth game next week. But I wouldn't worry about the match tonight. And I'm hoping I'm saying that knowing that full well I'm going to have to jump on here again and do an emergency pod on the Patreon tomorrow, because City have dropped points. Who knows? Let's just hope. Other than that, around the league, I think the player of the year, the Writers' Player of the Year, was Bruno Fernandes, which has been a lot of discourse around. Should have been Declan Rice and all these things. And I don't necessarily think it should have been Declan Rice. I don't know who it should have been. I saw some people saying that it should be someone who directly impacted their team massively. Then Igor Thiago could have been someone that they really could have, because a lot of us had them down as getting relegated, and they've ended up chasing Europe down, which is mad. I think Bruno Fernandes had an unbelievable year, but it's very tough. We've had more clean sheets than they've played games this season. And when you look at that, you think, oh, that's tough, isn't it? It is very similar to the concept of Tottenham winning the Europa Cup and saying they're champions of Europe. So, yeah, you are, but only of that certain band of quality, you know what I mean? Like, Bruno Fernandes has been great of that second band, And that's not because he's not a top man player. It's just when they're playing 40 games this year. It's hard to get a gauge because he's got 7, sometimes 21 days to prepare for a game. They're playing against teams that are playing every 3 days a lot of the time. It's been hard to gauge. And then also the hypocrisy of the world in football currently is a lot of his assists have come from set pieces, which apparently don't count. So it's just tough, the logic has gone out the window, and it's something that is just raging on. I tell you what, going on to that kind of hypocrisy to finish, because obviously Monday was a lot about the VAR decision. We've now heard the VAR audio. Two parts. One, I think they do actually a fairly good job of just keeping calm and actually spotting it. I think the huffs, when they realise there is a foul, are a little bit disconcerting. They go, oh, yeah, he touches Raya, it's a foul. It's like, well, don't be too upset. And the thing is, like, that's an Arsenal fan thinking, no, all right. But I think they're also thinking, that's unfortunate for West Ham. That's a huge moment for West Ham. We're going to have to rule it out. There's a couple of weird parts, like where he says, give me a clue. What am I looking for? The weirdest part is I think they miss so much stuff. I think Jamie Redknapp did an amazing piece on Monday Night Football, and when he's just being a pundit, he's one of the best in the business. When he's just being a baiter, it's so annoying. When he's baiting people, it's so annoying. But he does a bit, and he kind of debunked everyone and just said, is it a foul on Ray? Yes. Do Arsenal do this to keepers, which is everyone saying they've done it all year? No. We've never done that. We did it 3 years ago and we got a goal removed. That's the only evidence you need. They talked about the Man United game, completely different scenario, and it's just not the same. They talked about the Villa game, completely different scenario, just stronger. You can't tell us to be strong. And do we ride the line? Like he said, yes. Do we push it to a level? Yeah. But my problem is, you see Tom Garrett and these people that are apparently unbiased but wear Man City shirts and scream when Man City beat Arsenal. And Rory Jennings, who backtracked and deleted his video when he realised that he was on the wrong side of history, that it's clearly a foul. Everyone jumped to conclusions, and now they're having to kind of look stupid because you've got football managers and football players and fans and people that even don't like Arsenal going, well, it's a foul, isn't it? Like we can't just pretend it's not a foul. It's clearly a foul. But the second narrative, which is the annoyance that we've been very good at set pieces all year and we bully them. There's a compilation going around. Watch all our set piece goals this year. Look how much banging in and holding is going on. None from us. None from us. It's just really intelligent set piece work. When you watch it, it's actually less than most teams. That we're not overly crowding the box. People think we're the only team that crowd the box. Everyone crowds the box. We're running through them. Like the stream. Like you fish through a stream. We're all running forwards. We're creating space by movement. When we defend corners, are we overly physical and not looking at the ball? Yes. There's not one team that isn't. In that West Ham game, there should have been 2 penalties in the first half because 2 of their players pull our players down, not looking at the ball. So if West Ham fans or other fans that want a penalty as a woe instead of the rare foul, it's irrelevant because even the refs say it on the VAR is like, nah, it's not enough there. And that's what they were saying in the first half when people were pulling Rice down, staring away from the ball, or not looking at the ball and pulling Gabriel down with a bear hug, holding his arms down. It happens in every game against us. It happens every game for us. That's just football. But what you cannot do is put your arms across a goalie's arms and push him down. The other weird part with VAR was they didn't ever even spot the shirt from behind, which is, I think, the worst part. Because that's the reason he can't jump. The arms, I think, are just rested on there. I think they make it difficult to catch a ball. When Paul Scholes is agreeing with this, it's a worry. It's a world-ending kind of thing. But there's a guy pulling him down. And then people are saying, oh, Gabriel's pulling Todibo. Again, the refs even say on VAR, the order in which the fouls happen is what the foul is. The first foul at the whole corner is Souček on Havertz, two-handed shoving Havertz in the back of the head to the floor. That's the first foul. Second foul is Raya. Then it's clearly a Rice foul. Maybe a Gabriel hold. All sorts. But it has to go in the order. And people just, that's that, but it's just interesting that kind of development that we've kind of had of it's turned into a second thing because they realised they were wrong and then they've been doing it all year. That got proven wrong. So now no. And now they want to change the rules for crowding keepers, which I totally agree with. Because if you want to remove players from 6-yard box until the ball's kicked, that only benefits Arsenal. Because like I said, when we're attacking corners, there is hardly, dare I say, less holding and less bumping into people than any other team. It just, what the proof is there. Watch the compilation. But what we do is attack the ball very well. And if you give us a run on them, because they're not allowed in the 6-yard box too, it's going to be a problem. You know, there's going to be more goals. So they need to think of something. I don't know if it's that's the rule that they a former ref came out with. It said kind of like, until the ball's kicked, no one's allowed in the 6-yard box, so the goalie's got room. I think you've just got people running at the keeper now, which, and maybe that'll cause more fouls, because like we know with the rare thing, and anytime anyone touches a keeper, it's a foul. Maybe it'll create more fouls, therefore there's less goals, and people will be happy because people want less goals from set pieces, apparently. I think the other rule would be you're allowed like 3-on-3 on a corner. Everyone else has to be outside the 18-yard box, maybe, like a penalty. So you pick your 3 best, and they have their 3 best defenders, and you pop it in. And if you want to go to the edge of the box, be my guest, but players, you know, there's going to be a lot of players on the edge of the box, so you probably won't be able to do it. So you're going to have to pop it in. And also the benefit would be, once you pop it in the box, those 3-on-3 are going to go at it, but everyone else can start rushing the box. So that second ball, if people hold back on the edge, might get a volley away. People might start taking short corners so you can get more people into the box. But for other teams to go and pin them in that corner so they can't get that cross in, it could make it more fun. But nowhere else in the world is having this issue with set pieces. So the idea of the Premier League being the only league in the world that has a weird rule about corners is irrelevant. The only way they can get around it is start giving penalties for holding defensively. As soon as someone puts their arms around it, because people will stop doing it. If they crowd the goalie and they touch the goalie in any way, just blow up. People will just stop doing it, and it will happen. But I'll say this, Arsenal get a lot of penalties because no one gets held more than an attacking Arsenal corner. We also, by the way, I've said it all year, I can't stand it. Odegaard, Trossard, they're just looking the wrong way. But again, it's not just an Arsenal issue, it's every team. But maybe there's something to come, but who knows. As for Patreon, like I said, if City were to drop points, I could be back on here on the Patreon, so check that out, £6 a month. The link is below. Check out Whatnot, £10 credit. The link is below. And SeatGeek TBA Wrestling for $20. It's $20 off your first order, which is very good. But if not, the Patreon might be in the weekend, or it might be back to Monday, where so much could happen. Again, if more stuff comes out, then we'll probably get into that. We haven't really spoken about things like Tottenham. Tottenham fans feeling like maybe they're being unjust. I don't know if anyone spotted it, but didn't he just get the ball at the end there? And then, like, when they played 13 minutes where they got from somewhere, and then in the 15th minute of it, he gets, he gives a corner. Every time I watch the replay, I'm like, yeah, he touches the ball moves. But other people really can't see it. And this is the weird hypocrisy of football, is I can't see how people can be that, like, blind to it. Like the Raya one, like I said on the Monday podcast, if that happened the other end, this is the other argument. If it happened the other end, it would have been given. No, it wouldn't. Because the only time we've ever done that, it got disallowed. So no, that's not true. That's just you doing a thing, a narrative. But it's the concept that, how could people look at it? Like Defoe was doing it, and Carragher called out and was like, yeah, but that's because you're Tottenham. And you're also, do you know what I mean? You don't want Arsenal to win the league. So you're biased. And that's what he said. You're either lying to yourself or you're biased. Because it's a clear foul. And this was the same with this one. Was the Tottenham fans like, I've watched it a million times, there's no touch. But every time I watch it, there's a touch. And I don't know if it's like the gold and white, blue and black dress that we all see different things. But it can't be. Like the ball moves because it touches the guy's foot. So it's a tackle. I can't figure it out. And again, people say, oh, you're an Arsenal fan, of course you don't want Tottenham to have a penalty. It's like, yeah, but at the time when I saw the first replay, I went, oh my God, that's a penalty. Like, just because I don't want them to win doesn't mean I can change something physically happening. But then I was like, oh no, he touches the ball. Same with the rare one. I was like, oh damn, West Ham scored. They showed one replay. I went from behind and I went, oh, what a shame. I didn't think, oh, the goalie's got to be strong. I just went, oh, what a shame. Then they showed another one. Oh, it's a foul on rare. That's cool. That's beneficial to us. I just don't see how people, what they're seeing. It's interesting. But yeah, I'll be back at the end of the week. We'll kind of talk a bit more about it. Like I said, I could jump on if there's a big result tonight, because I know I've said to everyone, don't bother watching it. Just enjoy your evening and check the score at the end. Because the more goals they score, like against Brentford, we start getting more stressed. Because if it comes down to goal difference, we got no chance. But I know we're all going to be watching it, so let's enjoy it as much as we can and just hope for the best. But hey, what will be will be. Whatever happens, it's in our hands. We've got a Champions League final to look forward to. It's been a very good couple of weeks. Could it get better? Yes, but no one could take away what we've experienced the last couple of weeks. I think as well the fans are trying to get together. The bringing them in, when the bus turned up for the Atletico game with all the flares, and I think they're trying to arrange that again for the last day of the season. The last day at home, the Monday night. But which is good because again, it's the same time as a Champions League night. Do you know what I mean? Like there's not much difference. It's just a Monday night, not a Wednesday night or a Tuesday night. But it does seem, I don't know, if that is maybe a game that we win and we win the league, it feels right. If it's not, it feels a bit strange because it almost feels like the emotion's going to go massive. We might win it and then there's a big come down the week after, the week before a Champions League final. So I don't know how I feel about it, but it might happen. Either way, enjoy it. I will be back here on Gunners Are Ask iTunes and Spotify. Give us a 5-star review and let your friends know about it. And we'll see you next week. Bye bye.